it's sort of a long story, but the shortened version is that I dealt with weight problems all of my life, and like most people in that situation, my weight went up and went down, and I was able to stick with the diet for a short period of time and lose weight, and then fall off the diet, put it all back on plus more, and I realized at one point that my behavior patterns were very similar to that of an alcoholic. That we've all probably known an alcoholic who has been really good at quitting alcohol for a couple of weeks or a couple of months or whatever, and then some sort of special occasion comes along where they go, oh, I'll just have one drink today, I'm okay, I've got this under control, I'll just have one drink and go back to being sober tomorrow. And sure enough, that one drink is the top of a slippery slope back into alcoholism. So yeah, that was pretty much the way that I was with food, and I realized that one day that that was a realization that came to me, and I figured that if an alcoholic should quit alcohol, and a heroin addict should quit heroin, and a gambling addict should quit gambling, and etc., then why maybe a food addict should quit food. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously you can't quit food, all these other things you can't quit, but you can't quit food entirely. So the next step was to try to get as close as possible to quitting food, and I figured, as close as possible would be to find out if there was one food that I could eat that would sustain me and keep me healthy, and then quit everything else. And that would be as close as I could get to the abstinence model that is accepted as a way to deal with pretty much all other addictions. So
Mm-hmm.
once I had that idea, then I set about researching to figure out, if I'm going to quit all foods and eat only one food, what, first of all, is that possible? And if it is, then what food would I go with? So I did a lot of research over, I've got a science degree. So, I have a sort of an advantage over the general layperson as far as science goes. I used the scientific research skills that I have from my degree to then figure out if this was possible. And after a lot of research, the obvious choice was potatoes. So I did it. And
Yeah.
I was as surprised as anyone, believe me. Though I
Yeah.
didn't expect to be eating potatoes for a year when I came up with that idea, but here we are.
And why did you decide on a year? Like, was that your goal from the start, or did that kind of like evolve as you started eating them, or when you found them? Like, were you must have been concerned that a year might be a long time with only one food?
Yeah, that was, I don't have a justification for a year. When I came up with the idea of quitting food, I was sort of debating with myself about whether I should do it for 2 months or 100 days. They were the two sort of numbers that I had. And because I'd read lots of stuff from other people, like about habit change and behavior change and, all that sort of stuff. And it seemed like, somewhere between 2 months and 100 days would have been a good amount of time to do it, to change, my relationship with food and all of that. And yeah, so that was what I was weighing up between. And then all this research that I was doing and everything that I was, trying to figure out if this was possible, just by coincidence, this was not planned at all, but by coincidence, I finished all my research and finally settled on that, yes, this could be done, and it could be done with potatoes. Now the only decision left to make is that length of time. And when I got to that point about 3 or 4 days before January 1st, and so while I was deciding how long to go, it was in the back of my mind that January 1st is coming up. I should start on January 1st. And then if I'm starting on January 1st, like, maybe I should just go for a whole year. Like, I don't know. It was like, there was no justification for the year. It just felt right. That's like,
Hmm. Yes.
so
So you did start right on January 1st. It wasn't like a middle of the year thing.
no, if it was a middle of the year thing, I would have just done 2 months or 100 days or something
Hmm.
like that. I would have worked that out. But because it was January 1st, there was something about it. There's no like real justification for that. It felt like a cool thing to do.